She looked me straight in the eye, voice like syrup poured over ice, sweet, slow, but biting. Asterisk, your parents don't belong at this wedding. I've already invited my friends to take their seats. Asterisk, I smiled, not the kind born of joy, but the kind you were like armor, calm, controlled, dead behind the eyes. A perfect silence. Neither do you, I said. She didn't flinch. Not yet. But that was the moment I decided she would. The first time I met Evelyn, my future mother-in-law, she called me ambitious, not as a compliment, but as a quiet dismissal. Her head tilted just enough to communicate not one of us. We were standing in her penthouse garden, surrounded by white roses and hedges trimmed to mathematical precision. The skyline behind her was made of money, views that cost more than my entire childhood. She handed me a cup of tea she didn't drink and smiled like a monarch offering mercy to a trespasser. I played the role. I smiled. I thanked her for the privilege. When I proposed to her daughter, Claire, she clapped. Not out of joy, but out of politeness. Performance. There was no congratulations, no warmth, just cold approval for a play she didn't cast. Still, I believed time could melt ice. I was wrong. Evelyn didn't just dislike me. She despised what I stood for. A man who had built his life from nothing. No pedigree, no legacy, just grit, sweat, and stubborn refusal to fail. I wasn't her vision of family. I didn't fit the polished frame she gilded around her daughter's life. Claire and I were 2 years in when we got engaged. I loved her. I still do. But Evelyn never stopped pulling strings. It started subtle. The engagement dinner, accidentally, booked the same night. My father was scheduled for heart surgery. Claire didn't notice the timing. Evelyn did. Then came the seating charts. They shifted, twisted, rearranged. My family was always shuffled to the back, until one day they vanished altogether. I asked Claire. She hesitated. Asterisk, Mom said something about space, but I'll talk to her. Asterisk, she didn't. Or maybe she tried and failed. Evelyn was a master disguise. She dressed her control and concern, her manipulation in soft-spoken logic. And Claire? Claire had spent a lifetime obeying just to survive. The final straw came at the rehearsal. The cathedral Evelyn insisted on was cavernous and ornate, dripping in gold, sacred in a way that never felt like ours. My parents arrived dressed modestly, but proud. Evelyn looked them over like they were insects she couldn't bring herself to swat. Then she pulled me aside. Asterisk, I invited the LaCroix instead. Your parents won't be seated. It's better for everyone. Asterisk, she said, as casually as if she were discussing flower arrangements, like she expected me to thank her for the efficiency. I stood there, jaw locked, blood cooling by the second. She turned and walked away, certain she'd won. That night, I didn't sleep. I planned. I had already started noticing cracks in her web. 3 weeks earlier, Claire's favorite florist had suddenly backed out. The vendor Evelyn recommended charged double. Then the cake baker Claire loved dropped out, replaced by one of Evelyn's choosing. Again, overpriced. Claire was too overwhelmed to see it. She trusted the process, trusted her mother. But I noticed. I paid attention. So I dug. Emails, contracts, phone recordings, receipts. What I found wasn't just sabotage. Evelyn was laundering money, using Claire's inheritance, the one her late father left her, bleeding it out through fake vendors and shell companies under the disguise of wedding expenses, all dressed up in satin and ceremony. I called in the right people, lawyers, a forensic accountant. I built a file, facts, names, paper trails. I copied everything. Then I made my own calls. To the venue, the vendors, my replacements. I didn't tell Claire. Not yet. I needed her clean when the empire fell. I needed her to see it with her own eyes. The last piece? The seating chart. My version, with my parents in the front row, right where they belonged. Evelyn's name? Gone. Replaced by names she'd never recognized, journalists, attorneys, investigators. And in every guest welcome bag, a glossy folder containing a neat summary of Evelyn's entire scheme. The wedding day arrived crisp and bright. Like fate, had polished in advance. Evelyn wore silver, expecting the spotlight to lean lovingly her way. Claire looked radiant, the kind of beautiful that breaks your breath, nervous, trusting, kind. Everything moved according to Evelyn's design, until it didn't. Guests began arriving early, murmuring, clutching the reports like holy scriptures. The LaCroix never showed. Instead, a Pulitzer-winning columnist strolled in, smiling like he already had a headline. Behind him came two plainclothes agents, IRS, subtle, watching, waiting. Then Evelyn approached the aisle, floating like she owned it, but her seat, front row, center, was missing. In its place, a folded card that read, "Reserved for those who built this day with integrity." She froze, blinking, turning, searching for Claire. But Claire was gone. I had asked to speak with her before the ceremony. I showed her everything. The contracts, the lies, the theft. I told her what her mother had done, not just to me, but to her. How Evelyn had twisted love into leverage and stolen from her, while smiling through wedding plans. Claire didn't cry. She closed her eyes, took a breath, then opened them and said just this. Asterisk. Okay, then let's burn it down. Asterisk. We walked down the aisle together, not for vows, but for justice. Claire stood before the guests, hand shaking, voice steady. Asterisk. My mother will not be part of the ceremony. She has lied. She has stolen. She has hurt the people I love. She is no longer welcome in this chapter of my life. Asterisk. Gasps. Murmurs. Phones rising. Evelyn tried to step forward, fury leaking through her calm. You ungrateful little. Security intercepted her gently but firmly. She screamed. No one helped her. No one stood with her. The ceremony continued, smaller, quieter, honest. My parents sat in the front, tears in their eyes. Claire kissed me like it was the first real moment of her life. And Evelyn, her empire began to crumble that very hour. By morning, the stories were everywhere. Bank accounts frozen. Investigations opened. Friends vanished like smoke. Her silver dress, once her armor, was pawned off within weeks. She called Claire once, left a voicemail. Asterisk. I was just trying to protect you. Asterisk. We never called back. Now, some nights, I lie beside Claire, listening to her breathe, watching the soft glint of her ring in the dark. And I think about that moment. Evelyn, standing tall and smug, convinced she'd secured her victory. Asterisk. Your parents don't belong at this wedding. Asterisk. And my answer, the one I carry like a favorite song? Neither do you. Because some people don't deserve front row seats. Not to your wedding, and certainly not to your life.